What would you do if the only family you had left was being targeted, not by strangers on the street, but by powerful people pulling strings in the shadows? This is the story of Maya, a woman who stepped into a home as a housekeeper, but became something far greater. A protector, a voice for a child who hadn't spoken in years, and a light for a grieving father who had nearly lost himself. But this isn't a fairy tale. It's a story of loss, betrayal, and resilience, and it begins with silence. Maya's first day at the Caldwell estate was nothing like she expected. The house was massive, with walls of glass, marble floors, and the kind of wealth most people only ever see in magazines. But despite its beauty, it felt empty, cold. Inside, she met Preston Caldwell, a man in his 30s, sharp suit, sharp words. He was successful, commanding, but broken. His wife had died suddenly, leaving him to raise their only son, Eli, alone. And Eli was silent. For 2 years, the little boy hadn't spoken a word. Doctors called it selective mutism brought on by trauma. Specialists had tried, therapists had come and gone. Nothing worked. Eli stayed locked away in his quiet world. But Maya noticed something no one else had. The boy didn't just avoid speaking. He didn't trust speaking. He communicated through gestures, through the way he clung to his stuffed bear, through the way he looked at the stars as if searching for answers. Slowly, carefully, Maya began to meet him where he was. She didn't force him. She didn't push. She simply listened. Preston, watching from a distance, began to see something he hadn't seen in years, his son's eyes lighting up. Days turned into weeks. Maya wasn't just cleaning rooms or preparing meals. She was becoming part of the rhythm of the house. Eli started responding to her, first with nods, then with signs. She learned to communicate with him using her hands, patient and gentle. And Preston, the man who lived like his heart was locked in a vault, found himself softening. At the dinner table, in the quiet moments on the porch, in the way Maya made the cold estate feel like a home again. But just as the three of them began to feel like a fragile kind of family, the knock came. Child Welfare Services, a false report of neglect. Preston's world shattered in an instant. Strangers searched their home, examined Eli, questioned Maya. The boy clung to her, terrified, as agents scribbled notes and made judgments. They found nothing because there was nothing to find. But that night Preston said the words out loud. "Someone's trying to get to us." And Maya knew it wasn't just about Eli anymore. Behind the scenes, a corporate war was brewing. Preston's company was on the verge of a massive acquisition, one that would cost rivals billions. And those rivals weren't playing fair. They had leaked schedules, paid off insiders, even weaponized government agencies against him by using Eli as the pressure point. But Preston wasn't going to back down. With Maya by his side, and with Eli as his reason to fight, he prepared for war. It all came to a head in court. Reporters packed the room. Cameras flashed. Across the aisle sat Sylvia Warner, a former employee turned traitor, and her fiancé, the COO of Preston's biggest competitor. Preston's lawyer presented evidence of sabotage, leaks, and manipulation. But then the opposing attorney turned their fire on Maya. Why? They sneered. Would a housekeeper insert herself into such delicate matters? What gave you the right? The room fell silent. Maya stood tall. Her voice did not shake. She said, "Because that little boy wasn't just frightened. He was forgotten, and I know what that feels like. I promised myself that if I ever saw that look in another child's eyes, I would never walk away." Her testimony didn't just move the court, it silenced it. And when the judge delivered the ruling, Lark Technologies was condemned, not just for false claims, but for abusing systems meant to protect children. Preston's company was cleared. But more importantly, Maya was vindicated. That night the house was quiet again. But it wasn't the heavy, suffocating quiet Maya had first walked into. It was safe silence, healing silence. And then it happened. As Maya tucked Eli into bed, the boy whispered a single word. "Stay." Her heart broke open. It was the second word he had spoken in years. The first had been Mama. Preston, listening from the doorway, felt something he hadn't in so long: hope. From that moment forward, the three of them were no longer fractured pieces of a broken family. They were something new, something whole. The story could have ended there. But for Maya, it was only the beginning. The judge who had presided over the case sent her a letter, nominating her for the state's Child Welfare Advisory Board. She was no longer just a caregiver. She was an advocate. Maya began volunteering at community centers, guiding children with disabilities, showing them the same patience she had shown Eli. Preston supported her every step, not as an employer, but as a partner. And Eli began to laugh again. He signed new words, whispered small ones, and discovered joy in places he hadn't before. This is not just a story about wealth, or corporations, or even courts. It's a story about how one person's courage to stay, to show up, to protect, to love, can change everything. Maya walked into that house as a housekeeper, but she became a family. Because family isn't always blood. Sometimes it's chosen. Sometimes it's built in the middle of chaos. And sometimes it's simply a hand that refuses to let go. If you've stayed with me through this story, ask yourself, who in your life needs you to stay? Because sometimes that choice is the one that saves everything. Thank you for listening. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might need it. We tell stories like this every week, stories of resilience, courage, and the quiet heroes among us. Until next time, stay safe, stay kind, and never underestimate the power of showing up.